Hey everyone, Andrew back again and welcome to another video, and today I've got a bit to cover. DVD Blu-ray update, want to talk about a new TV and also give a big shout out. So we'll start with the shout out first. So the shout outs for MichaelMyers 78, and as always I will be leaving his channel link in the description box below like I do with all my shout outs I give out. This guy is awesome. He's the most underrated YouTuber within the horror community as of right now, in my opinion. He is awesome. He's uploaded a lot of great videos. He puts a lot of time and effort into his videos, and his collection's amazing. I'm not just saying it. He recently uploaded his Halloween collection, and honestly, it rivals mine. It's that impressive. So yeah, he owns a lot of editions of the Halloween movies that I don't, and yeah, his collection's amazing. He's also got a very large and impressive slasher collection as well, and you guys know how much I love slashers, so this guy's the real deal. He is legit. Please head on over and subscribe to MichaelMyers 78. His channel link will be left in the description box below. So yeah, hopefully mate, you get a lot of subs out of this, because you certainly deserve it. Anyway, next up we're going to be showcasing the DVDs and Blu-rays. So what I'm going to start trying to do in my future updates is do them more regularly, but try and make sure that I watch everything before showing it. So I'm really wanting to give opinions on what I pick up and what I've been checking out, obviously, and I feel some of my past updates I don't always do that. So this is a small bunch of backlog pickups that I've got that I've checked out. So these are what I'm going to do. So yeah, in the future I'm going to try and watch everything before I show them in updates. That way you guys can get more of an opinion on the movies that I show, and also hopefully that also means the updates are going to be done a little bit more regularly. So as always, we're going to get started with the DVD. Okay, so just one DVD this time, but it's a pretty cool one. It's the Old Anchor Bay DVD of Shock, Mario Bava movie. This is also known as Beyond the Door 2. This is an Italian horror movie, and it's one that I'd never really heard of, but I came across it on eBay and it sounded pretty awesome from the synopsis, so I picked it up. Glad I did. This was really good. A little bit slow in parts, but thoroughly enjoyed it, and it had really creepy, really good atmosphere throughout. Essentially this is like a possession film, so it's about a family that move into an old house, and the son communicates with spirits and basically becomes possessed and more sort of evil and naughty as the movie goes on. And it's also about his mother, who has like these horrific hallucinations and basically just descends into madness. Really good. Typical Italian horror, so if you're into Italian horror and you've never seen this, I definitely recommend it. It was really good. Next up we have Lion, and this is not horror, not even close, but it was a recent pickup, and this movie's fantastic. I actually watched it in theatre and definitely had to pick it up on Blu-ray. This was actually one of the ones that I got when JB were having the buy one get one free sale, so it was a really good deal because it was a new release at the time. Yeah, phenomenal movie. I'm sure most of you know what it's about. Some of you have probably seen it as well, but yeah, absolutely fantastic. So definitely glad to add this one to the collection. Next up we have Burien Sound Studio, and I came across this for really cheap on eBay, and all I can say is I'm really glad that it was cheap, because this movie was terrible. I absolutely hated it. One of the worst movies that I have seen from recent memory. This movie was extremely slow, very repetitive and boring. I actually fell asleep a couple of times throughout it, And I watched the whole thing because I thought, you know, the ending might have a pretty cool payoff, but it didn't. It was pretty confusing, and yeah, just was not a very, very good movie. This was basically about a sound technician who got a job at like a low-budget Italian horror company and pretty much had to do the sound and stuff for this company. They were a bunch of assholes, and yeah, as the movie went on, he kind of got more and more sucked into their world. But yeah, as I said, this movie was terrible. I hated it. Next up we have Stalker, starring John Jarratt and Karen Fairfax. Fun fact about this movie, John Jarratt actually directed it. Well, he actually co-directed it with Karen, but from what I've heard, he did most of the directing, and this was actually his first time directing a movie, so that was pretty cool. Before you get too excited though, this is completely different to Wolf Creek, completely different. And it's kind of hard to talk about this movie without spoiling it, so I'm going to sort of keep it to a minimum. But this movie was kind of weird, kind of strange. The best way to describe it would be a very, very sadistic foreplay fantasy type movie. Basically, both of these characters worked at a hospital, and John Jarratt was stalking the female character in this movie. Basically broke into her house, but then the tables kind of turned, and essentially she held him captive. So, and then the sort of sick, twisted, sadistic kind of foreplay fantasy story played out from there. I'm not really too sure how I feel about this movie. I didn't overly like it, but then I didn't think it was a bad film either. It was interesting. I will say though, the performances were pretty impressive. Essentially, this was really, for the majority of the movie, shot in a kitchen, so just the one location, and for the majority of the movie also it was just the two characters going back and forth. And I thought John Jarratt and Karen Fairfax were fantastic in their roles. They both played their roles really, really well and worked really well off each other. But yeah, as I said, I don't really know how I feel about this film, so yeah, if you guys want to look into it more, you can, but I don't really want to say too much more without completely spoiling it. Next up we have Tormented, which was about a bullied high school student who ends up committing suicide, and then he comes back from the dead, and just like the title says, he torments his bullies. This was really, really good. I enjoyed it. Very stock standard, but yeah, I have no real complaints about this movie. It worked really well, and for the most part, I really enjoyed all the kills in this movie. There were some pretty good kills. I was really disappointed with the death of the main bully, though. I was expecting him to die in a really, really awesome, pretty brutal way, but that really wasn't the case. But other than that, I thought this was a really solid revenge-style slasher movie, so if you're into these type of movies, I would definitely highly recommend it. Next up we have Frankenhooker, and I want to give a big thank you to Grant, or Horror Fan Man, because we were talking a little bit about this movie and he said how good it was, and yeah, I'm really, really glad I picked this one up. I picked it up for a pretty good price on eBay, and I'd never seen this one before, but I was a massive fan of Frank Henenlotter's other movies, which were Brain Damage and Basket Case, and Frank also directed this one. And yeah, this was typical Henenlotter style 80s horror movie, and I really, really enjoyed it a lot. Basically, it's about a young man whose partner got killed by a lawnmower, and he's basically trying to bring her back to life using body parts of hookers. Very, very crazy, off the wall, but typical Henenlotter stuff. And yeah, as I said, really, really enjoyed it. Had a great 80s vibe to it. This is a true 80s horror movie, and I'm kind of surprised I'd never seen it before, but yeah, glad to finally have checked it out, and absolutely loved it. I especially enjoyed the ending, which had a nice little nod to Basket Case there. But yeah, if you've never seen Frankenhooker and you're a fan of 80s horror, definitely check it out. And last, but certainly not least, we have Train to Busan, and this was absolutely fantastic. I'm the first to admit the zombie genre has pretty much been done to death. You know, there's been a lot of modern zombie movies, but this definitely is one of the better modern zombie movies in my opinion. If I had one slight complaint with this movie, I felt they could have perhaps tightened up the length of the film a little bit, but other than that, I thought it was exceptionally well done. It felt really, really unique and fresh in a kind of oversaturated genre, and I thought the idea of them being trapped on the train was absolutely fantastic. It worked really, really well. Probably the main thing that really impressed me with this movie, and I cannot say this for a lot of other horror films, is definitely the characters. The characters were fantastic, and they were really, really well developed over the course of the film. They changed a lot over the course of the film, and I've got to give massive props to the young girl in this film. She was definitely the standout. She was absolutely fantastic. The zombies looked absolutely awesome. Really, really good effects with them, and it had some really good gore effects in general. But yeah, just an absolutely exceptional film. I'm sure most of you have seen it because this has been getting quite a lot of buzz and hype recently, and for good reason, because it's absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, absolutely loved Train to Busan. Okay, and now the TV. So this is the box for the TV, so you get to see what the TV looks like. It's a Hisense 55-inch 4K UHD. It's HDR, 4K upscaling, 4K streaming, quad-core. Really, really good TV. Very, very impressed with it. I got it for a pretty good deal, and it's a massive upgrade to the old TV that was in the living room. Now this is in the living room, so it's not in my movie room. So I won't always be watching movies on it, but I have checked out some movies, and obviously big screen, 4K, the image quality is very, very impressive. The picture quality is impressive. It does have streaming, so you can watch Netflix on it, which I have been. I've been watching Stranger Things. I'm 5 episodes into it. 3 more episodes to go. Absolutely amazing series. Getting Netflix is worth it just for Stranger Things. Absolutely loving the show. Most of you have probably seen it. Phenomenal. So yeah, Netflix is pretty cool. I don't think I will keep my Netflix subscription running all the time. Over here in Australia, you can sort of like buy it month to month and there's no contract. So I'll give it a couple of months and then probably end it for a while. Very, very disappointed with Netflix when it comes to the horror selection. It's shit. It's not even worth it. That's really all I have to say on that. It doesn't really have a lot of the older horror movies, and it's pretty much just got like a lot of the shitty modern stuff that's not really even worth my time. So yeah, the horror selection's pretty bad with Netflix, but for TV series you really can't go wrong. So yeah, all in all, this is a great TV. I'm really, really happy with it. Yes, I do plan to get a 4K player at some point and start buying some 4K films. They're still kind of expensive, especially for new releases, so I'm not really too sure how serious I will be picking stuff up. Plus, being 4K, all the new blockbuster movies are pretty much the most beneficial in that format as of right now, and I'm not always really into those sort of movies. So I know there's a few like 4K horror releases, like the Deep Red 4K restoration from Arrow, which I do plan to pick up, and I really want to get the Italian Dawn of the Dead 4K set. But other than that, there's really not a lot of horror movies in 4K, so we'll see how that goes. I still want to pick up a player and some movies just to see if there is a big step up from Blu-ray. I've heard In some cases there is, and in some cases there isn't. So we'll see. The format's still fairly new, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, overall really happy with the TV. Alright, so that does it for another update. As I said, I'm going to try and do these a little bit more regularly. I've still got a backlog of movies to check out and update you guys with. And as I said, I really want to start watching everything before I do these updates. So, yeah. And once again, make sure you head on over and check out MichaelMyers 78. He is really underrated, and as I said at the beginning of this video, he is absolutely fantastic. He is the real thing when it comes to horror. His knowledge and collection is legit. I can definitely vouch for it, especially his Halloween collection, which, as I said, is absolutely amazing and rivals mine, which is a very big statement because you guys know how big my Halloween collection is and how much I'm into the franchise. So yeah, if I'm vouching someone else's Halloween collection, it's the real thing. So yeah, head on over and check him out. As I said, his link will be left in the description box below. Anyway guys, that does it for another update. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of the titles I've picked up, and thank you for watching.